Hi, so this is the beginning of a short video on social sharing. In fact, it's the beginning of a series of short videos on social sharing and then on influencers. I'm going to try and keep the videos, as I said, short and put them in a series so that, if you don't get too tired of me and I don't drone on for minutes and minutes and minutes. Anyhow, so let's start social sharing. So it's called social media. And the reason, of course, people are on social media is to share things, be it photographs, little snippets of text, cool videos of stuff with people that they know or at least know online. So the whole idea is you're creating some sort of social community. And as a brand, what you want to do is reach inside that social community and get people to do the work of spreading your message for you. You want them to share the important parts of your brand and, sort of replicate the work that you'd be doing with advertising. So I'm pretty sure everyone knows that sharing is important, but let's go over some of the facts. It greatly expands reach. It expands reach sufficiently that there are some companies or some brands that have started to use social sharing as their primary way of promoting. Television programs are a particularly good example of that. There are some television programs that reach out to their niche audiences through social media, and that's where all of the sort of referral comes from. That's where all the buzz is generated. It's not generated necessarily by conventional advertising. So by the numbers, 31% of online referral traffic comes from social media. That means 31% of everyone who hits a brand's web page comes from social. Most of this referral traffic comes from third parties, not from the company's social profiles. So it's not that people are going to your Facebook page and then merrily trotting over to your website. Rather, they're getting a post from a friend who's on Facebook that suggests to them that maybe they want to trot on over to your website. So that's why we want people to share for us. We can't do the sharing ourselves as brands. And 48% of consumers view posts made by Connection as the way to discover content, trends, brands, and products. Why do they see posts made by Connections? Because we trust other people more than we trust a company. This offers additional credibility. We have the credibility of the sharer working for us. If my friend likes this, maybe I'll like it. And I kind of trust my friend, right, not to lie to me. I'm not so sure I trust a brand not to lie to me. So, as a brand, how do we make sure that it's our content that is shared? Because there is a ton of content out there. And of course, everyone wants to go viral, but it doesn't have to go viral. You just want enough sharing, right, that you make an impact in the market. So, why do people share? There are two reasons. One is social motivations, and the other is psychology. Okay. We'll be talking about both of those in more depth, probably in the next series of next PowerPoint presentation. Um, socially motivated sharers are often called influencers, particularly if they have large networks. People who are called influencers or super sharers are responsible for 80% of your shared content. So it's something like less than 10%. It might be 5% of the people you're talking to share 80% of the content. So these are people that have large networks who share regularly, and they have enough credibility with their audience that they're believed. There are two types of influencers. We have what we think of as traditional influencers. These can be anything from a celebrity, right, to someone who positions themselves as an expert on fashion. You probably all know a fashion blogger somewhere, right? They are not necessarily celebrities in their other life, but perhaps on the internet they kind of are. And then we have fans, right? If Disney posts something about Frozen 2, Professor Marsh will be sharing it because she is a fan, and Disney can count on me for that. Then we get to the psychology, and there's some sort of three basic, I would like to make them all R's, but they weren't all R's. Anyhow, three basic tenets I'm going to run through. One is it needs to be simple. We can all remember the story of the three bears. Why? Because it's a simple story. Fables are simple stories. You ever have that person who, the joke is so complicated that they get lost in the middle of the joke and they can never finish it, right? That's why you don't want things to be complicated. Simple works. People remember simple. Also, quite frankly, social networks are geared toward short, relatively simple messages. It needs to be relatable and relevant. Right? It needs to be something that your market, your target audience is interested in, right? And that can be a social cause. It can be entertainment. It can be additional information about how to use your product, but it has to be relatable and relevant to that target market. There's no one rule for that, but it has to be something that reaches, that speaks to them. And it needs to be risk-free for the sharer. It can't be a lie, right? Remember, they're lending you their credibility. You cannot take advantage of that, because if you do, you will become, persona non grata in the sharing world. And the last thing I'm just going to touch on, and we'll say this over and over again, is it's important for brands to know that you can't control sharing. You can't control social networks. You can't control sharing. You can't control what people say about you. And if you try, it's going to backfire on you. You can make stuff that you think people want to share, but you can't guarantee it's going to be something that's shared. And you can't suppress something that someone's sharing about you if it's just because it's something you don't like. Take one look at the internet right now, and you can see stuff that people whose brands it is probably would prefer you not be sharing that. And the worst thing you can try and do is try and control sharing. What you have to do is be transparent and take advantage of what we know about what makes content shareable. And so that's what we're going to talk about in our next video.